You're listening to Sister Stargazers, celestial and terrestrial observations and advice from two real-life sisters. Welcome, fellow stargazers. Your sisters are in the house. Hello, Jude.
Hi there, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. We're going to talk eclipses.
We are going to spend this episode 36, Sunday, May 15th through Saturday, May 21st, with a focus on this full lunar eclipse in Scorpio.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the sun's in Taurus. It's a milestone. You still might be feeling some reverberations from the solar eclipse that happened on the 30th of April. So that eclipse would have started something in whatever house that Taurus occupies in your chart.
Yeah.
And this is the lunar eclipse, which is a full moon happening 2 weeks later. And it will be visible across North America, so you can get out there in the middle of the night and take a look. But let's talk about the aspects of this lunar eclipse.
That sounds great. Yeah.
So a lunar eclipse happens when the sun lines up with the Earth and then lines up with the moon. So they're all basically in a straight line, sun, Earth, and moon. The sun shines on the Earth. The Earth casts its shadow onto the moon. So the light of the sun is eclipsed as it's reflected off the surface of the moon.
Right.
And so the moon as a lunar body can refer to the public. It can refer to mother. It can refer to the feminine aspects of ourselves. It can refer to yin, like the yin state rather than the yang state, which is more considered the sun.
Yeah.
But in this lineup, we also have Saturn, which we'll have the sun, Earth, and the moon lined up in a straight line up in the sky, which we're part of. We're also in the sky with this setup. And then Saturn is going to be out there somewhere at like either 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock, depending on where you are.
Right.
So if you've got this line up, like say the Earth is in the middle and the big hand's at 12, and that's going to be the sun, and the little hand's at 6, which is going to be the moon, and the Earth is in the middle,
right,
then Saturn is going to be over in 9 o'clock.
Right. Right.
It's going to be in a square aspect.
Right.
It's going to be at a right angle aspect.
90 degrees.
If you drew a line from the sun to Saturn, and then you drew a line from the moon to Saturn, you would have what is called a T-square, which is basically a triangle, a right angle triangle with Saturn at that right angle.
Yeah.
And that is going to give us kind of a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
Because, eclipses are heavy enough. They're always about change. They're about change that comes unexpectedly, or we can count on it, one or the other. It's something that kind of falls into place that starts a new cycle. And this full moons in general are about endings, which by nature start a new beginning. So the moon reaches its culmination. It reaches its most full point. And while it's full, it's eclipsed.
Right.
So there's this cutting out of the moon's light, which is also at the time of this eclipse, the moon is going to be in Scorpio, which is a sign about death, dying, and transformation. Scorpio's ruled by Pluto. So that's one significator that there's major shifting going on.
Right.
And then the South Node, which is about releasing and also about what we've brought in with us to this lifetime, what we're working from, the place that we're kind of launching from, the South Node. The South Node's in Scorpio as well, the South Node is also about releasing, letting go, so that we can move into our evolutionary direction.
Yeah.
Which is where the sun is in Taurus. The North Node is in Taurus, conjunct the sun. So we have these three indicators that there's a big release that's going to happen at the time of this full moon lunar eclipse. So South Node is involved with the moon. The moon is in Scorpio. That's another indicator that there's a release being requested or kind of put on the tab.
Yeah.
And then the moon is also full.
Yeah.
So these three indicators just around the moon are saying, release, let go of stuff that no longer serves you. habits, patterns, emotions. There's a wonderful program that Nick Ortner and his sister Jessica Ortner have developed called the Tapping Solution, which uses emotional freedom technique to release any patterns or behaviors that are detrimental.
Right.
So you can overcome any fears, phobias, worry, anxiety, anything. You can overcome this, or at least make strides towards eliminating patterns that you don't want by using this emotional freedom technique, tapping on these meridian points all over the body.
Yes.
That might really help people at some point during this next week, because there's the potential for a lot of emotion to come up at the time of this full moon. And there's a lot of planets involved with this lunation. So not only is the sun opposite the moon, the sun is conjunct retrograde Mercury. Not exact, that will happen later in the week. Mercury will be exactly conjunct the sun later in the week. But at the time of the full moon, those issues or conversations might be just bubbling up to the surface.
Yeah.
Also the potential for things to happen really quickly and unexpectedly, because Mars is sextile to the sun and trine the moon. So Mars is in Pisces, conjunct Neptune. So you may be thinking that you need to take action, that things will unfold quickly, that an opportunity arises, you need to grab onto it. But then Neptune is also sextile the sun and trine the moon. So there's this insecurity or lack of confidence or nebulous state of nebulousness or confusion or delusion or cloudiness, that there's a hard time making a decision, even though you want to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
This Saturn square the moon and square the sun is also, the Saturn's in Aquarius, and Aquarius is about our use of technology and our scientific method. Yes, that everything is deduced or deducted, or if one thing is one way, then another thing is another way. Well, not so with this moon and sun in opposition and making an eclipse. Things are not what they seem. So the Saturn is saying, oh, yes, science is dictating this and science is dictating that. And we know the rules, and, we can use this technology to our advantage. And the sun and the moon are in opposition in eclipse, saying, no, not so fast. Wait 1 minute here.
There's other possibilities.
There's more possibilities. Is that where we really value? Is that what we want to really do? Is this what we really value?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions right now, and not clear answers at this eclipse time.
Yeah.
Plus, we have Pluto, our friend. There's so many planets involved with this eclipse. It's going to be kind of a messy sorting out kind of time.
Yeah.
Pluto, ruler of Scorpio, is involved in a trine with the sun and a sextile to the moon.
Okay.
So Pluto is also saying, transform.
Yeah.
The energy is open for the transformation to occur.
Yeah.
It's not going to be clear. It's going to be a little messy. Things are going to happen fast, because Uranus is conjunct the sun and opposite the moon. So Uranus is our sense of intuition, surprise, lightning, coming out of nowhere, unpredictability, originality, independent thinking, new ideas, futuristic outlooks, nervousness, impatience. These are all energetic signatures of Uranus, and being conjunct the sun, it's going to infuse our sense of identity or collective identity with this on edge kind of feeling. And then opposing the moon is going to make us a little even more edgy, because we're not secure in how we feel. Our sense of feeling is going to be disrupted. There's just a lot at play with this particular time, and it's going to be building. It's building from the week before, and then it happens right on Monday.
Right.
The eclipse will start on Sunday evening, the 15th in the Eastern time zone at 10:27. And it will last several hours into Monday morning, the 16th.
Of course.
So this eclipse will carry on until like 1:55 a.m. on Monday, May 16th. The Earth's shadow will completely cover the moon. and the moon will gradually get darker and then take on a rusty or blood red color.
Right.
And this eclipse will be visible throughout all of North America, Greenland, the Atlantic Ocean, and parts of Western Europe and Western Africa. So it's a fairly big one for being visible in the United States.
Let's hope for clear skies. You can get out and actually see it.
Yeah, you probably won't get much sleep, or your sleep will be interrupted. But the total exact time of the total lunar eclipse is 12:13 a.m. on Monday the 16th, and that's Eastern time.
Yep.
But it will be in play that evening on Sunday night, starting at around 10:30.
Yeah. I mean, it's a magical thing if you've never seen an eclipse to go out and sort of realize like that's the shadow of our planet crossing another celestial body. It kind of gives you a moment of perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We did talk a little bit before we got on stage about the Sabian symbol for Scorpio, 26 degrees Scorpio, where the moon is.
Yep.
So this particular symbol, if I'm quoting from Dane Rudyard's book, An Astrological Mandala, the cycle of transformations, and its 360 symbolic phases.
Right.
So this degree, 26 degrees Scorpio, is the image of indigenous peoples making camp after moving into a new territory. Mm-hmm. And the keynote that Dane Rudyard says is the ability to adjust swiftly to a new situation by turning into its requirements. So this idea of adapting swiftly to a new situation, now that would be Uranus's influence, this need for swift action, this almost something unexpected. You need to adapt to it. So you need to tune into its requirements.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, those who live in harmony with nature, moving on as new needs arise, find themselves intuitively at home everywhere. They do not make demands upon life, for they have identified themselves with the great rhythms of the biosphere and function at peace with what they produce. This is the message of the indigenous peoples, which European invaders so wantonly and meaninglessly destroyed nearly everywhere. A Western man has lost faith in life because he wants to dominate and enslave manifestations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of looking at that in Scorpio, like that is something that an idea, that maybe we need to look around and maybe adapt or adopt a new way of being in the world that maybe is a little bit more aligned with nature.
Right.
Instead of genetically engineering, what if we were bioengineering or biomimicry what nature does?
Yeah. This is that tension that I think is what we're speaking to in the aspects of the sun and the moon square Saturn in Aquarius versus the moon in Scorpio, release and let go. The sun in Taurus, what do you value in the north node to move into? It's sort of like this Sabian symbol is the new potential, the new possibility of stepping into living with nature, getting back to nature, getting more in sync with nature, in conflict with artificial intelligence, genetic modification, Saturn in Aquarius, sterile engineering, and that's the conflict.
Yes, our logical linear left brain focus is creating this world where, we are dominating through our limited capacity.
Right.
We're creating a new reality after ourselves, right? In a new way, which is inherently limited because we're limited.
Right. Yeah.
But nature is abounding. We're just beginning to understand really in a very, very minimal way what the indigenous cultures understood for eons because
millennia.
They lived in the biosphere. They worked with the rhythms. They worked with the land, with the seas, with the plants, with the animals.
Right.
When they went out to hunt, they hunted with the crows and with the coyotes. There was a communication between all of them.
Right.
It was of mutual benefit for them to hunt together for the survival of the species. It wasn't trophy hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a huge difference.
Right.
And the sun is conjunct the North Node in Taurus, which is like, look this way, look towards the earth, the ways of the earth. And the other thing, it's Sedna,
yes,
which is the farthest out planet right now that we've been able to identify. 10,000-year orbit around the sun.
Yeah. Talk about having like a macro outlook, a zoom outlook. And Sedna's story, you can go back to episode 35, last week's story is about going back and retrieving, and for the purposes of this conversation, I would say lost knowledge, or the instinctual knowledge that we sort of abandoned, gave up, let sink to the bottom of the ocean. It's our chance now to go back and grab it and reconnect with it, bring it forward with us into the future. We have it. That's the thing, is that we have it. We have this intuitive knowledge already. It's just a matter of sort of reclaiming it and stepping forward with it.
Yes, and relearning it.
Yeah,
and it's the feminine. It has to do with the feminine, the way of the feminine, so it's not so much this striving, like this Mars, conquer, dominate, control. It's about allowing the plants to speak to you.
Yeah.
Allowing the animals to speak to you, listening, being receptive. That's the yin. So that's where we need to go.
Yeah. 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 And it's interesting too, this is a lunar eclipse. So like you were saying, we have the sun, the earth, the moon. The earth is in the middle, and it sort of feels like, which way are we going to be pulled? Are we going to be pulled towards Saturn, Aquarius, whatever? Are we going to focus on the earth? It's almost like the sun shining onto the earth. It's like, are we going to focus on the earth? Can we return to the values of the earth, which is what Taurus is about?
Right.
Well, we did also look at, because this is another conversation, but this axis of the moon in Scorpio, the sun in Taurus, and those are where the nodes are. The north node is in Taurus, the south node is in Scorpio, north node looking forward, Scorpio, karmic release past. We did also look at the sun's 26 degrees or 25 and change degrees of Taurus. Do we want to mention that Sabian symbol as well while we're here?
Yeah, we could take a poke at it. So this is just an image picture again, and Dane Rudyard's take on it, of 26 degrees Taurus. A Spanish gallant serenades his beloved. And the keynote that Dane Rudyard addresses is this ritualization of individual desires. So we talked a little bit about what a gallant was.
Right.
And of course, a Spanish gallant is a certain kind of gallant.
Right. Right.
They belong to a certain culture.
Yep.
They're of a certain status.
Yep.
What is a gallant?
And it's of an old world, right? This idea of a gallant is of a heroic nature, a chivalrous nature. There's a code of conduct to being a gallant. You operate within certain expectations of your society or culture. And here we have this figure serenading the beloved, offering a song to win their heart, to turn their attention towards them. So this idea of, there was something else about the individual within a group value, working within group values, however, having, an individualized desire, but you have to do it within this way of being.
Right. He's still within his culture. Like he couldn't just go out there and sing punk rock to this right. Beloved, because that beloved would probably dump something on his head, right?
Over the balcony,
right.
Yeah.
So he's still within the confines of his culture, this particular romance or spontaneous fulfillment of
desire. Yeah.
Desire is kind of, I can read what Dane Rudyard wrote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's saying at this level, we see the play of collective values as they affect the individual person and indeed confirm his individuality by giving it a solid basis in a tradition. So the individual is still attached to these group values. He belongs. He's a gallant. He's a Spanish gallant. Nevertheless, this state is necessary for a safe and secure sense of differentiation within an enfolding whole. he's trying to differentiate himself through his serenade.
Yeah.
But he's still part of this culture that says that serenading is the way to go.
Right. Right.
In his time, in his place, that's what you do. Music and the culturally accepted rituals of love are cultural products.
Yeah.
Like we've learned how to do this in our culture. Yet each person can use them for the spontaneous fulfillment of his or her very own desires.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though we're in a certain time and in a certain place and of a certain position or not, we are still able to use the tools of our culture to get what we want.
Right.
So how does that fit into this full moon? Your thoughts, Sarah?
Well, my thoughts are, it's a balance. It's a delicate balance because whatever we want to pursue, ideally we are pursuing it with the collective in mind, with the idea moving forward that we have to operate within certain rules. If we're going to live together, if we're going to survive together as a species, we have to live within certain rules. And yet we want to be individualized. We want to fulfill our own desires. Well, how do you do that when you live within a collective and operate within certain rules? So it's like the sun in Taurus showing us certain ways of doing things, the moon telling us you better be ready and flexible to adapt. That was one take I had on.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. You better be able to release the old ways that aren't working.
Yes.
No matter how much you sing, you may not get what you want.
You may not get what you want.
Because it may not be working anymore, like these ritualized cultural.
And I thought it was interesting that this Sabian symbol focused on the person singing the song, but there's also the person receiving the song. There's a choice there. Are you going to say yes to the serenade? Is that the song you want to be wooed by? I mean, I know the Sabian symbol doesn't dive into that aspect of the Sabian symbol, but there's a partnership here. There's a give and take. I'm going to offer this. Are you going to take it? Well, that remains to be seen. And I think that's this, whatever we're going to release. And then this, what are we going to step into? What is it you do want to step into?
Yeah.
Hopefully it would be something that is for the benefit of the collective. I don't know.
As well as your individual.
Yeah. So
what were those cards you pulled?
You were checking off why this eclipse is particularly potent, but out of the deck today fell into my lap 2 cards. One of them is the Death card, Major Arcana number 13, and it's Death on a Stallion. Again, transformation, end of a cycle, beginning of something new. And then the other card that was interesting that I wasn't sure what it was significant for until we started unpacking this week. It's the Knight of Swords, and it's a knight on a horse, sword raised high. Also has feathers in his helmet, which is I think a little bit speaks to this Mercury aspect we have going on this coming week, but about swift decisions.
Yeah, Uranus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's movement. There's such movement with both of those horses. And it could be even like a change of plan, like what you thought was real or what you thought was going to work is not going to work. It might be a change of, just like that adaptation, the indigenous culture, moving camp.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Adjusting swiftly to a new situation. So it sounds like this lunar eclipse is going to be wanting us to ask some questions, make some choices. I mean, where do we go from here? And that's, I know, next week's. That's episode 37.
Yeah, you'll have to tune in and find out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's going to affect everyone differently, especially where your Taurus Scorpio axis is in your chart.
Yeah.
It's a choice point time. It's a time when you can make a decision to stay, to go, to change, what's not working, and to know that it's in accord with the time.
Choice point. Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be on the 16th, right? When the eclipse is, it could be a few days before, up to a week or a month later, that this can affect you. Really depends on where it's coming in your chart.
Well, and you can reach out to us at Connected Sister Stargazers, because Jude, you can help people decipher through all that information. So
Yeah, I love doing that work. Please feel free to give a shout out.
that was a lot to decipher. So thank you for taking time to do that.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening.
So we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week and get out and look at the lunar eclipse if you're in the Northern Hemisphere up in North America. It's really, really it is a phenomenal, literally quite phenomenal experience. Thanks, Jude.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Sister Stargazers. Let us know what worked for you this week. Find us on Facebook and post a comment at Sister Stargazers.